Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Milner. I'm a board certified family law lawyer from Austin, Texas, with over 20 years of experience litigating cases and handling appeals. In this second video in our trial series, I'm going to focus heavily on how to use category and subject filters for trial so that you can pinpoint exactly what you need to see on your screen, exactly when you need to see it. So here we go. Here are the subjects we'll be tackling in this video. As always, feel free to watch the video in its entirety or scrub to the content that matters to you. At the heart of Chronodocs are category and subject labels and the ability to filter the timeline to pinpoint specific categories and subjects. This allows you to have exactly what you need in any case right in front of you at a moment's notice, which is the whole idea. Good filters are critical because by the end of a case, the timeline, assuming it's used properly, is going to be pretty comprehensive. It's going to contain a lot of different events that are relevant to different issues. This is particularly important during hearings and trial because whether you're examining a witness, answering a judge's questions, or arguing a particular subject, you're going to be focused on a particular issue or category of issues. Let's go through some examples. If I'm in a discovery hearing or if I'm having a discovery meeting with a client or anyone else, I'm going to be focused on discovery and I'm going to want to apply that filter. Once I do that, I'll have the entire discovery history in front of me, right down to the deficiency letters. If I'm reviewing the procedural history or a procedural question comes up in court, I want to apply that filter. If I'm examining a witness about a child's mental health or educational issues, I'll want to apply that filter so that I have the entire history and every document and document citation related to that issue right in front of me. Same thing if I'm arguing to the court about a particular subject. So let's go through creating labels step by step. Whenever we create an event, we give it one or more category and issue labels. We choose two things for the label: a label group, you can think of this as the category, and the label. You can think of this as the specific issue. You'll notice that Chronodocs has preset label groups and preset labels. If one or more of these work for the event, you can choose them now. But please note that these are not intended to be comprehensive. This program was created first and foremost for family law, and as you know, the possible issues in family law would make this list nearly endless. So use the present filters if they are helpful, but you can and should create custom label groups and or custom labels for each individual case when necessary. To do that, click Create Your Own Label, choose a label group or create your own, and create a custom label. My case involves educational issues for a child, so I'm going to choose the child label group, and I'm going to create a specific label called education. When you're setting labels for an event, think about which search subjects or filter subjects you want the event to come up under, and that will guide you in determining which labels to use. For example, for this event, which attaches a text chain between the parties, I want to give it multiple labels under the child category so that I can filter for these later. I've created these labels for education, mental health, and parental interference. I've done this because I want to be able to easily bring this text chain up when I'm discussing these subjects or addressing them at trial. In a custody case, when I'm cross-examining the opposing party about his actions or inaction related to his daughter who's suffering from depression and failing her classes, I'm going to want to bring those subjects up. Perhaps I'll want to only focus on one of these issues at a time, or maybe I'll focus on all of them at once. It's my choice, and my labels allow me to do either. By the way, we'll be talking about specific techniques related to cross-examination in another video, so look for that on our education page. Maybe I want to apply a particular label to a lot of different events at once. Here's how I do that. I click on each event I want to apply a label to. You can see the events that are checked to the left over here, and you'll see that a counter has appeared to the upper right. To apply a label to the whole group, I click these three dots to the right of the counter and I select Edit Labels. I select the label I want, or I create one. I click Apply. Now all of those events have that label. So now we get to the reason why we created these labels in the first place. If I want to focus on a particular issue, I click Filters, and I choose the label I want the timeline filtered for. I can filter for as many labels or as few labels as I want. Once the filter is selected, I click outside of this window, and the timeline only shows me those events with the label or labels I've selected. Alternatively, I can just click on a particular label, and the timeline filters everything out other than the events with that label. When I want to remove the filter, I just remove it by clicking here. I can also apply filters within a document. In this exhibit, I have 3 months of bank records with 2 different issues involved, specifically unknown transfers and spending on an affair. If I want to focus the court on the highlights and references related only to the affair, I choose that filter. If I want to focus the court on the highlights related to unknown withdrawals, I choose that filter. Okay, this is totally optional, but depending on my use case, if I'm approaching a hearing or trial, I may want to create a global filter for that hearing or trial. For example, let's say I have a hearing that will be focused on discovery as one issue, and on my request that the court do something about the other party wasting community assets as a second issue. For this, I'll create a custom filter for that particular hearing. I'll begin by selecting specific events as we discussed before. These are the events I want on my overall hearing timeline, the one that covers everything I think I need for this hearing. I'll then create a custom label. I use the procedural label group, and for the specific label, I say the name of the hearing. Now I can bring up all of the events I need for this hearing by applying a filter for that label. And when I get to this hearing, that's exactly what I'll do. In fact, I'm going to save this filter for easy access, which is what we'll talk about next. So let's say I get to my hearing. And of course, when I'm in a hearing, I want things to be as simple as possible. So I'm going to want my hearing filter immediately available. So what I'm going to do before the hearing is select that filter and save it. Now I have the filter ready to go, right here, and it's going to stay here until I delete it. But I probably won't stop there. Remember, this hearing involves 2 primary issues, discovery and spending. So I'm going to create 2 other saved filters, one that has the hearing filter and discovery, and one that has the hearing filter and spending. This way, when I'm in the hearing, I have my overall hearing timeline, and I can also quickly focus on specific issues as needed. And by the way, at any time, I can release all filters and access my master timeline. I can also rotate between the various timelines with these arrows to the top left. So let's say I want to add or subtract a filter from the saved filter. It's really simple. If I want to add an event, I just go to the master timeline, click here next to an event, and I add the label to the event. Now that event will appear in the save filter. If I want to subtract an event, I just do the reverse. I click next to an event and I remove the label. Okay, that's all for this video. If you run into any issues or ever have any questions at all, please contact us at support@chronodocs.com and we'll answer your questions very quickly. I'll also be doing more nuts and bolts dives into trial presentation and more using these timelines, and you can find those at chronodocs.com/education. And finally, if you have not used the product yet, please just go and at least experiment with it. It's free and there's no sign up. You just go to app.chronodocs.com and start experimenting with building timelines.